Hey, good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome to the Deal Scout. On today's show, we're going to have a conversation with the guy who's been an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. That's such a hard word for entrepreneurs to even say or spell. For over 30 years. John, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Sir Josh.
So, in 30 years of being an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've learned a lot about deal making, about entrepreneurship, and such. So, why don't you kind of give us an idea of who you are and what are you up to?
Who am I? That's a good question. Sometimes I ask myself that.
I got it tattooed on my arm, man. I ask myself that every day.
Well, your name, so you know who you are, right?
Right. Yeah.
Got to look at your wallet occasionally.
You got it.
Depends on the day too.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'm on my own for 34 years. I guess I'll give you my 30 seconds elevator speech like I always tell everyone else.
Yeah.
I don't want to bore you though. 34 years on my own. Actually started as an underwriter. It was really boring. Corporate underwriter. Went through the motions. Did not like that atmosphere.
Hmm.
So then I stepped into the financial planning advisory role. Um, Ran a compliance branch office for Franklin Financial Services, then became American General Securities. But then at the same time, I built up from scratch an insurance agency.
Hmm.
Um, Held that for, geez, about 30 years. Sold it prior to COVID. I actually built up two of them. Sold them prior to COVID. Made a successful exit. Uh, then Actually, I just sold my third one only a few weeks ago. On top of that, I fell into the finance world just by demand, dealing
Yeah.
with people, clients, asking me questions. It just made sense. So I stepped into the finance world, started doing some simple stuff, went to ground up construction to community build to project finance. I can't say I did everything, but I seen a lot of aspects of business and the finance, insurance, and dealing with all sorts of people. Um, and I had some side gigs here and there that I fell on my face. I mean, everyone does. Tries to do something else. Tried a risk management company, didn't work. I
Hmm.
even tried at one time. I don't know what I was thinking back in 2007 2008 when the market was going crazy and felt like I was going to lose everything. I started a dating site. Fell
No
on my
kidding.
face. It did not work.
Yeah.
But I had the experience. I learned.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But I have a lot of stories. But in a nutshell,
Yeah.
here I am.
John, this is so cool. Thank you for sharing a part of your journey. All right, so let's do this. Let's pretend you and I are in an elevator, and
Mhm.
we're back in 2008, and you're building your dating app. Pitch it to me, right? Like, let me hear about it, right? Like, I'm like, hey, what are you up to, man? 2008, the world's doing, or maybe, like, tell me about your app.
Well, it was a site. It was when LinkedIn was not really that big.
Yeah,
What was it? MySpace was big at that
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And MySpace, I don't know if you remember it. It was something about where you could post things about yourself.
Hmm.
So I came up with an idea with another person, which I can't even remember the guy's name really because it didn't last too long, um, where we would have business information. Like we'll have the
Nice.
professional business profile
Hmm.
and then have the dating aspect in it combined.
Cool.
It sounded good.
Yeah.
It's just that, a lot of things were going on. I think because I felt like, the bubble burst
Yep.
and everything was collapsing. I couldn't get my head straight.
Yeah.
And, then I lost two-thirds of my business at that time. So I was like a mess it just didn't work out. I mean, I was sinking money into it and like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that was with my first marriage. It was a disaster.
I get it,
It was a,
man.
it was a spiral, like
I get it.
kamikaze plane crashing.
Yeah. I love talking about this, right? So this show is called The Deal Scout, and we talk about deals and deal makers and such like that. But like the story behind the deal maker, the story behind the successes and the failures. The failures is where a hard-headed guy like me. This is where I learn from screwing up, right? I wish I had enough foresight and wisdom to learn from other people's mistakes. I'm not quite there yet. I've got to be like, let me try it out myself. Um, but I love sharing these stories because the things that we've learned when going through hard times, if we pass on, if there's one person that could receive that wisdom, man, we could save their lives, right?
Right.
What did you learn? You said you're going through a messy marriage, right? You're throwing money at bad stuff. The world's falling apart. You lost 2/3 of your business. You're building a technology company, and you're like, I'm a mess. What did you learn there?
That I learned that you can't tackle anything until you really are fully focused back then. You have to have your right mindset. If you don't have the right mindset with anything, I mean, this goes applies to life.
Yeah,
If you just can't get your head wrapped around it, you're gonna fail. I mean,
yeah,
that's all it comes down to. I
yeah,
don't care. No one's gonna help you. There's no life preserver. You're gonna
yeah.
drown.
So true, man. You said idea. Idea is spelled IDEAR, which is like an idea that a deer has or something like that. Where are you from, man? I could sense an accent. Where's that?
It's New York. I'm originally from New York.
An idea. That's what you call an
An
idea.
idea. I'm sure I heard that. Believe me, many times I'm on a lot of conference calls and I'm in the Carolinas
Yeah.
and I'm talking to a lot of the Southern people. They say, John, can you do me a favor? And I'm like, what? Can you say forget about it? And I'm like, oh, come on.
All right. John, John, you got to do us a favor in your best New Yorker accent. Say, forget about it.
Forget about
Forget
it.
about it.
Forget about
So good.
it.
So good. Oh, I love you, man. Um, So, so here we go. After 2008, life's going crazy. You failed, tech company that you're trying to build, and what happened next? Like, how did you get your head right?
I had to. I mean, everything spiraled back then. And that's not the only time everything I fell on my face. We went through. You know, back when Iraq war, things went crazy. 9/11, things went crazy.
Yeah,
So it was just like another time. It was just probably the hardest time in my life because it ended up spiraling me into a divorce. you
yeah,
know, but it was a lot of people at that time, almost, well, pandemic didn't help a lot of people either, but, um, you know, you think you're doing okay, and then something the rug is just pulled under from you. And,
yeah.
so I ended up spiraling through a divorce. I um, almost lost my house. Um, I had to rebuild myself from scratch practically, which I
Hmm.
did. It took a lot of work, but I was able to put myself back together, build my agency, pick up clients again. It was, 14, 16-hour days
Yep.
doing it for a month straight. But if you didn't do it, what were you going to do? You'd be in
Yeah.
the street. So you have no choice. You just got to get your, again, mindset. You got to wrap your head around it and say, all right, what do I have to do instead of sitting in the corner going, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, bro, so many times I sat in the corner and going, blah, 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 blah. This is what I experienced, right? So, been bankrupt, been on food stamps, built tech company, been in venture capital, all of the ups and downs. If there's a book called Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, right? That was the story of my life, right? Just getting my ass whooped consistently. The first time I really got my butt whooped is I lost all our money. I cashed out a government pension, broke as a joke, couldn't get a job. I've got degrees, I've got experience. I couldn't get a job even. So I can't even take care of my family. I felt worthless. And I went in the corner going, blah, 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 because I was embarrassed. I couldn't get my head right when people are going, what are you up to? I have no freaking clue. Right. I just lost it all again. So like, when you talk about going in the corner going blah, 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 like that was me, man. I had a hard time getting back in the game. I was so hesitant. I just wanted a manual labor job
Right.
so I didn't have to talk to anybody or tell them how big of a failure I was. How did you get past that?
I, it's, believe me, I think everybody wants to curl up in a ball.
Yeah.
And it's, which is fine. You know what? You probably need to do that for a couple days to just see what is going on. You just got to walk away and just try to clear your head and say, all right, I'm not, I don't want to say anything curse words, but
You can say whatever you need to.
I was going to say, I'm not a stupid ass, but
Yeah.
I think I can fix myself and just get this back together. Or, because like you said, you have degrees,
Yeah.
you did things. You got to start changing your mind and say, all right, you know what? I accomplished this in life. I
Yeah.
got where I am. There was a reason why I got there. It wasn't
Yeah.
because I just was a babbling idiot. I did something.
Yeah, yeah, so true. We have to remember our successes, right? We also have to
Yes.
the self talk that we give to ourselves, right? Is super vital. When you were going through, do you mind if I ask some personal questions, John?
Sure, you can ask anything you want. Well,
All
depends.
right. What's your view on abortion, politics? How big is your wallet? How big is your?
Leave politics out of it. I don't
I
like
know.
politics.
I'm just kidding with you. No, so
We'll be in the air for 3 hours or more.
that's
Yeah.
right, and my show will get canceled again, right? So, so you're going through this process, right? You're going through, a divorce. You're going through a failed business. You're going through one of the worst economic crises we ever had. What were you saying about yourself? What was the self-talk that was going on in your brain? And like,
Well, I
how
could
did you
tell you
approach
this
that?
much. I really don't like saying personal stuff, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm at an age where I really don't care anymore. Um,
That's the perfect time. That's freedom.
well, yeah, when you're younger, you're kind of concerned what other people think.
Yeah,
I It doesn't matter to me. I really don't. If someone doesn't like me, I don't really need you in my life. Um,
yeah, I agree.
so so basically, in the beginning, I just felt a lot of pressure. And I was losing. See, this is when I had a big agency, an insurance agency,
Yep.
and how insurance works is that you write a policy and you get paid up front,
Hmm.
and then people were canceling, so I had to return all this money.
Oh,
So
geez.
yeah, exactly. And it was not like, 1,000, it was like 50,000, 25,000. I was just like, holy. And I remember sitting on the bathroom floor, pretty much crying.
Yep.
And I was sitting there, and this is my ex-wife said to me, says, it's not the end of the world. That's what she kept on saying. I mean, I granted that she did say that,
Yeah.
but I just really took it hard on myself because I built the business for like 20 years, and then I just felt like I was losing it all.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a voice inside, deep inside, that said, you know what? You did this. You did this before. You could do it again.
Hmm.
And I just picked up the pieces, and I had to make a lot of calls, make arrangements, trying to, don't lose your house, keep a roof of your, make sure there's food on the table, make sure everything's going okay. And, I just was able to put it together, but at the same time, I ended up divorced
Yeah.
because, I mean, she just kind of, I don't know, we weren't really getting along great anyway.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was, it just seemed like the right thing, and we just kind of parted ways.
Yeah.
But you survive.
You survive.
Whatever comes to you, you survive. It's not like you're bleeding. It's not like you have cancer. You're, stage 4. You're gonna die tomorrow. You survive. You figure a way. You go to certain people that you trust, or you just sit back and get the paper and pen, make a plan, write down what you have to do to get to the next level to
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, it's all up to you. I mean, we all. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on.
no,
I,
go,
I,
go, go.
go.
Let me give you a soapbox. Go for it.
I just really feel that we are all born the same way. We all have, maybe some people are more intelligent than others, but we all can do the same. We can excel at anything if we really put our mind to it.
Yeah.
And I really feel, I don't care what you're doing. I really think that if you really put all the excuses aside, all the problems aside, and you just focus on something, you'll get it done. You might not be as good as somebody else, or maybe, you're not going to be like Elon Musk, but you may get somewhere, and you just got to praise yourself as you get there.
Yeah.
Little goals, take the little goals, take the little rewards.
The little, the yeah, because I mean, I'm telling you, when I was getting my first start, I was like the first business I built, well, second business I built. I was building it. I was like, I'm gonna be a billionaire, and I was shooting for the moon. And and if I look back now, I see all the little successes that I achieved but overlooked at the time because I was going for such a huge thing. But looking back, I was like, man, I really made a dent. I really made a lot of achievements. But in the meantime, I was feeling like a complete, absolute failure. Yeah, I felt
Mm-hmm.
worthless, dude. Um, so I love talking about this because I've talked with billionaires, and for me, the worst that could happen, right? Obviously, let's put aside death and cancers and all that stuff like that because that's terrible, right? But as I was building my business baby, the worst thing that could happen as this guy whose job in life it is to invest in people is going broke, going bankrupt, losing publicly, right? And then it happened. I look back and I was like, man, that was brutal. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here, not going anywhere. So I love that you said you're going to get through this. Like it's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. You're going to do that. That's great advice that your former wife shared with you. That's awesome, man. High five to her.
Yeah.
Um, and also to all the spouses out there married to entrepreneurs, hats off to you. That's the hardest job is being married to an entrepreneur, right?
Yes. I mean, even my current wife, she says I'm in my hole all the time.
Right. It's so cool, man. It's the thing that they're attracted to is the visionary, the world changer. And then they start getting to know us and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you never stop, do you? Your
Yeah,
brain never turns
really.
off." Yeah. So, all right, so you just had 3 exits. Bam, bam, bam within the last couple of years.
Yes.
What did that look like? I mean, you could share as much as you're comfortable sharing.
Well, I mean, prior to the COVID, I, that was my first agency, and well, it was 2 agencies. What I did is I was just burnt out. I was just tired. I don't, you know what? I have nothing against insurance agents or insurance itself, but
Yeah.
it's boring. It is boring. And I just like talking to people, help people.
Yeah.
So and that's what it came down to. I was just like more or less just like the face talking to the people, trying to help them. But I had a team, so I was not really in the weeds doing whatever I
Yeah.
had to do. I was just kind of presenting and walking around. So I enjoyed that and meeting people, but it started getting to the point where I don't know. You get tired of hearing people's problems.
Yeah.
Like, insurance is like someone calls you, they're not going to say, hello, how are you? They can say, oh, I have a claim. My house will caught on fire.
Yeah.
I need something and I signed the contract and I look at the contract and I'm like, why'd you sign this?
Mm.
And the guy is like, well, I can get some business out of it. Well, it's going to cost you $20,000 extra.
Yeah.
And they're having a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Yeah, yeah. So so you just kind of deal with a lot of um, aggravation all the time, I should say.
Yeah.
There's some rewards, but there's a lot of it's aggravation. And felt like I just needed to get out of the business, and I was doing some finance a little bit as well. And when you're dealing with money, everybody wants to talk to you. Everyone wants money. I don't
Yeah.
care, but it gets kind of crazy because people have, a napkin presentation and they're like, hey, I have this idea. And I'm like, hey, did you do anything with it? No. You have any money into it? No. And I said, not a good idea.
Right. Right. Right.
um,
Yeah.
so so we kind of shifted and that's the reason why I got out of it, really, because I just felt like I just needed to change. I wanted to have more positive feeling, more energy. I started feeling like I was getting drained. And that's why I just said, you know what? I just want to change my life.
Yeah. I
And
get it.
that's what I did.
I think it's super vital for business owners, entrepreneurs, investors, whoever, for us to look at like where am I at in the business cycle, right? Like I love early stage to probably right before scale, right? Like maybe right at scale, but once it gets to systems and processes and all it becomes corporate, I'm just not a fit. Like you said, am I allowed to cuss on the show? A cuss word to me is like, Josh, you become an employee, like, right? Like W-2 employee, that's a cuss word for me. I'm like, no. because I'm a shitty employee. But like I really fit really good. And when I start feeling that I'm not a fit anymore, I need to replace myself or sell the business or sell the opportunity or whatever. I'll
Right.
just know here's where I have my most life. Here's where my joy,
Yeah.
my passion. And maybe that means I'm never a billionaire or a trillionaire, and that's okay. I'm okay with that, right? Like I'll be fine in the millions, right? That's cool.
Yeah.
How did you know that about yourself? And you're like, you know what? Maybe it's time to just kind of sell these off, have a few exits.
It just felt right inside. You
Yeah.
know, I started writing things down and I just visioned myself getting away from it, and it just felt good to
Yeah.
do it. With me, if you have doubts, it's either two things: either that you're not ready, or you're just afraid. You're just having fear.
Yeah.
So you just got to say, well, all right, and then again, you're wrestling yourself. Say, all right, because I mean, everyone goes through fear. Where I was even saying to myself, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Is the other part not going to work? Is it not going to work the way I want it to? Or,
Mhm.
but then I was saying, well, so what? If worst case, I can always do something else. It's not like I'm dying.
Yeah. 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 When you said
So,
you write stuff down, are you talking about like diary, journaling, and such like that?
well, I'm old school, so I write things down like if an idea, or I try to like just have a goal or a plan or something.
Yeah.
I'm not really one to sit there with a typer, and this, keyboard and key away. I usually write it down, and I kind of look at it a few times.
Yep.
It's in my face,
So
and
helpful.
that's usually I digest it and I say, okay, that makes sense.
The
I
process
learned,
of putting pen to paper, or you said typewriter, so I that kind of
yeah, I mean
ages you.
that's all. I mean, keyboard, no, keyboard.
But the process for me to do that, like it helps create clarity between my brain and when I see it, my brain and my eyeballs, and I go, oh, that's what's going on, right? It helps me
Right.
clarify that. Um, so you went through this process and you go, I'm going to start selling these off. What you talk about fears, right? So you started selling things off. You started, maybe having an exit event with, some capital coming in or something like that. But what were some of the fears that you had when transitioning out of these babies that you built, these three companies you built?
Uh, well, the fears was is that, because you're used to doing something for so long,
Yeah.
you could do it in your sleep. So you're trying something new. Well, even though you not really wasn't new, but you just put all your effort into something else,
Yeah.
and it's a failure.
Yeah.
You start second guessing yourself. Oh, maybe I'm not good enough to do something else. Maybe I'm not, So, but I think that's just human nature. I mean, we always second guess ourselves with everything. You really think about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I learned a long time ago, don't do anything on emotion. I mean,
Oh.
I used to make emotion decisions, and then I'm like a week later, I'm like, what? That was stupid. Why did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Um, Identity wise, right? So you start selling these companies off, and you're like, oh, what am I gonna what am I gonna do with myself? Like who am I in this situation? That was one of our first kind of chats.
Right.
Like, how was your when I see people exiting family businesses or things that they built for a long period of time, having conversations with them, one of their thoughts were, well, who am I after this? Did that hit you?
That hit me, but I was doing some finance already, so it wasn't like I was, like I didn't have anything set up,
Yeah.
I should say. It wasn't like, I'm just like going out on a cliff, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, if someone's exiting, I wouldn't suggest to just, you know, give them the key and walk away and you have no direction. You have to have an
Yeah.
idea of what you want to do. Either you're going to retire or you're going to do something else, or yeah, I have no idea. Depends on the person.
True. Yeah, that's another cuss word for me. So the employee, I'm just a shitty employee, and the idea of retirement sounds terrifying for
Yeah.
me. I love what I do.
So I mean that's the thing. If you really love what you do, then retirement. I always see. Now I'm going back when I was a financial advisor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You always had the person say, all right, set some money aside for your IRA. You have to do a systematic deposit in some kind of mutual funds and blah blah blah. And when you hit 60s, 62, 65, you're going to have this amount of money. Is that good enough for retirement? I mean, you're brainwashed that way, but but that's good if you're working at a job you don't like,
Yep.
you're stuck, and you're looking at this window, say, oh, I have 10 years. So, I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're actually working your whole life to hit what, 65? And then what are you going to do at 65? I mean, okay, oh, I want to do this and that. Oh, well, I'm too old. I can't do that
Exactly.
now. So,
Oh my
so,
gosh.
so I mean, retirement, it really, if you like what you do, keep doing it. Who cares?
Yeah.
There really isn't any retirement done. I mean, I was just thrown out there because because I would say majority,
Yeah.
and I think you would agree, majority of the people out there are stuck. They feel stuck,
Totally. Yes.
but they really aren't.
Yeah.
They really aren't stuck. It's in their mind.
Right. You know what's funny? So, growing up, the advice for me, passed down from my family. I grew up on a construction site swinging hammers. Not the brightest guy here, okay? So,
Well, you sound right.
thanks, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. I got a face for radio. The thing that I heard was go get get your education, go get a job, work 30 years, cash out, get a great retirement, then do what you want to do, right?
Right.
Then you do that. So I was in the government. I was working in a government job, and I was actually on the pension board at the fire department, and I was looking. This is sick. I was looking at the actuarial tables. The actuarians and actuarial studies pretty much predict when you're going to die. So here I am studying when Josh is going to die as a firefighter medic. Here, and I'm looking at these numbers and I'm going, okay, so I'll retire at 63, whatever, or 60 as a firefighter. I'll probably have a broke back and I'll probably have all sorts of, lung issues. And then 3 years later, I'm going to die or whatever. And I'm like, oh God, I'm spending my life, like I got into it because I loved it and I loved helping people. But then stuck in it, I go, I got to get out. I built a fitness technology company, cashed out my pension, went all in. So stuck. Is stuck a perception or is it reality?
I think it's perception for sure. It's
What are your
not a
thoughts?
reality. It's
Explain
not a
that.
reality. I really think that, it's you. I mean, people feel like they're stuck in a bad relationship, they're stuck at a bad job, they're just stuck,
Hmm.
but really, I don't think anybody's really stuck.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
I
if you,
agree.
if you we all, and I go back, say if you wanted to become an attorney, I don't know why, but say you wanted to become an attorney,
Third bad word, ATTY.
um, but if you did, I mean, go to back to school, learn.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think we could all do something if you really want to do it.
Yeah. Oh man, the but I can't because I got
Yeah,
kids.
excuse,
I got
excuse,
yeah, right?
excuse.
Oh my gosh. So as a firefighter medic and I've walked a lot of people into life and death, delivered babies and seen people go on the other side. As people, older people and whatever, the biggest regret I heard, like if someone they go, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I spent more time getting to know who I was. I wish I was, spent more time trying to figure out God. I wish I spent more time doing what I love to do. Never. Hey, will you check on my Rolex or check on my Bentley or that? I've never heard that kind of crap. Yeah, that is so good. The regrets that people are stacking regrets. I wish I would have gone back to school to become an attorney or a painter or this or that, right? Um, how does that shape your decisions what you're doing in your business and life?
Well, I mean, we all have regrets.
Yeah.
It's just the way I look at it as, you know, they're there just as long as you're not really thinking about them. You're not looking in the rearview mirror.
Hmm.
You pretty much just keep going forward to the next. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to sit there and dwell on things in the past, I mean, you're never going to go anywhere forward. It's very simple. So with me, I believe in that strongly. I don't really sit and think, oh, I should have, I could have. I mean, what's the purpose? It's just a waste of energy and time. I mean,
Yeah.
you really you can't change it, so you just got to live with it and make the best of what to come.
Yeah. Man, super cool. All right, when you talk about financing, explain that like you and I are hanging out at a coffee shop or bar, depending on what time of day it is, right? And and one of our buddies walks up with the perfect deal for your
Huh?
business of what you're doing now. So explain a little bit about what you're doing and what does the
Okay.
perfect deal look like for you?
All right. Well, I would say if someone came to me, I would say if it was a say the person who's like I guess he's a developer, I'm thinking, or
Sure.
whatever he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, if he came to me and said, you know what, John, I have a project. I'm looking to develop 100 homes in this state.
Mhm.
Um, so basically, what I would do is help them structure it. I would look at the business plan, the performance, make sure the numbers make sense before actually even doing anything.
Mhm.
Um, and then you got to also, basically make sure the person is legitimate. A lot of
Mhm.
people act like they know what they're doing,
Mhm.
or they get ahead of themselves
Mhm.
before actually having everything organized and laid out.
Mhm.
Um, that's very essential. So just putting together the package, and
Mhm.
then once the package is together, I have relationships with certain types of funding groups. I would love to be my own funding group. Believe me, I just don't have the capital needs. You need deep pockets. I'm sure you probably know
Yeah. 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 It takes money to make money.
that. So, um, and then you sell it to whoever you're trying to get it funded through, and you're just part of the process, and that's the excitement of the development of what that project is. I mean, you're
Yeah.
actually in you're not building it, but you're putting the model together. You're there. You're the one that you see the vision that they're seeing, and to me that's exciting because the
Yeah.
guy is sharing his vision of what he wants, and you're a part of that vision, and it gets me going. And I'm like, wow, I see where he's thinking and where he's going, and we
Yeah.
can actually make this work. So so once everything comes together and it starts constructing in that way, I mean, that is perfect. I mean, but a lot of times when you're in the finance world, people aren't organized.
Yep.
They're more have a vision, but they don't have a plan,
Yep.
or they just have um, everything together. They just don't have any money at all. They just expect everybody to invest in them,
Right.
and they just not there. They need people to give them money first to actually go forward, like the development capital,
Yeah.
which is good to get, but it's also very hard. I mean, I did a capital raise. It's capital raising is very hard. I mean,
Capital raising's hard.
very hard. I mean, you can work years and get nowhere,
Yeah.
and it could fall apart on you instantly.
Yeah.
Um, but but just putting it all together and making it and everything, just the parts and everything come together, but like I said, I mean, it could easily just disintegrate.
Yeah.
Somebody can wake up, like I'll give you an example. I'm not going to use names or anything. We were working on a very large project, $483 million project,
Sweet.
huge solar farm getting funded. Worked on it, I don't even know how many years, about almost 2 years, start to finish.
Yep.
Worked with a large project funded backed by family office. You know, calls, everything's organized, everything's going, everything looks great,
Yep.
everything, and group even threw in like a couple $1 million. People have a lot of money into it.
Hmm.
The partner, there was two partners in the capital group. He had to sign one document. He
Hmm.
decided he didn't want to do it.
Just I
The
don't want to
last
do it.
He was going to walk away with $20 million in his pocket.
Yeah.
He just decided, you know what? I think I'm going to go in a different direction. And so, I mean, everybody's like,
Two
what?
years in.
Yeah, yeah, 2 years
Wow.
in, everything's complete. One document left.
Yeah.
He decided he didn't want to do it. So I mean, so it things like that is where you get extremely frustrated, and then I can see why a lot of finance people jump out windows.
Yeah. I mean, that's not funny, but I understand I understand the game, right? Like, I get it. You spent 2 years working on a deal, and man, like you nurture a deal for 2 years, and this happened, right? Like you spend that much time on a deal, and then it if it falls apart for a legitimate reason, right? You're like, I
Right.
get it. But for someone who just changes their mind, they're like, you know, I want to go to Disney today, and you're like, what? What? Like, we did this and I don't get paid. I've invested 2 years of my time. I don't get paid unless this deal gets done, unless you structure,
Yeah,
retainers
I
and such
mean,
like that. But
I learned a lot of ways to get around that, and we
yeah,
changed our model in a lot of different ways. Where there's like, exit penalties and,
yeah,
but you're right. I mean, things like that do happen, but obviously, something like that closes
it's a good payday.
a huge payday. You really could do whatever the hell you want to do. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you really,
We're working on a big deal, and we're like, oh, this is a big one. If this comes across, like we're all set for the year. Like this is a good deal. But I've gone broke in the past chasing big deals, right?
yeah, you
And
can't do that.
you can't do that. So in this process, as a deal maker, right, who are hunting whales, right? This is fun.
Hmm.
It's exciting. It's sexy, right? This is cool. But you could go broke chasing whales. What have you
Right,
learned in your own business? You said we've learned some things that keep the lights on in the meantime. What have you learned
right.
and how do you structure deals to do that?
Well, what I do now is we have the big deals, but we really don't depend on them
Yeah,
100%. You have
totally.
to have the bread and butter, like you said, to keep the lights on. You have to have the small ones constantly flowing in. And, we kind of changed our model where, I used to take the time, get on the phone, telling people how to structure things.
Mm,
And, time is money. So I kind of changed it where, all right, you want to do something, you got to give me, some kind of engagement fee. You have to do something so I know I'm going to get paid regardless. If
totally.
you just pull out because what am I going to do? I mean, everyone has bills to pay. I don't care who you are. You
Yep.
have things you got to pay. I mean,
Totally.
so we changed our model, and at the same time, we're doing other things. I mean, I own a mortgage office. I don't know why, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're just trying to do different things, and you have to. You can't
Yeah.
just be doing one thing unless it's something that's, you know, internet based where it's running by itself and you're sleeping and you're making money because people are buying ebooks or something. I don't know.
Totally. That is such a great point. So you said a few things that I'm like, this is this is so important for deal makers, especially people like me who, we might be working on an acquisition and it could be 2 years before we get
Hmm.
paid. We cannot depend on that big deal to happen. It might not happen. We've put together a bunch of deals that fell apart for dumb reasons too, right? Like, you know what? I don't want to do it. They just
Right.
changed their mind, changed their heart, whatever, right? So we can't depend on the big deals, the bread and butter, the things like this. And then also, like you started kind of just going, oh yeah, let me help you do all this work, due diligence, structuring the deal. We'll help you look at your pro formas and the numbers and the business plan and organization. You invested a tremendous amount of value in time, and then if they don't get the funding, you don't get paid, right? So um, structuring that like, hey, I could give you a little bit, pay for a little bit. I'll give you a little bit, pay for a little bit. That's what we've learned.
Right.
Is like
Right.
we call it skin in the game.
Hmm.
Like we look for people who are as invested as we are, and then we just try to out give them, out value them, like and who could give each other more and bring more to the table. So that's how we try to figure it out. Um, Man, I love this conversation. It sounds like you and I are so aligned. As you're doing this, what's your favorite part of the deal? Right. So you and I are working on this awesome ground up, deal. What's your
I,
favorite part of it?
well, actually, there's two stages that I would say there's two favorite parts. One is when you're getting the guy's vision, like I said before, when you see his vision and you feel his vision and you feel like you can contribute to make it happen for him, that is a big lift because
Yep.
you're like helping somebody complete something, their dream or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you're living through that, but you're a huge part of it to make it happen. Um, that and also when things just come together. When everything's structured and comes together, everybody's in agreement, and it's it's going to go through. I mean,
Yeah.
and nobody's sitting there doubting. No one's going to wake up and say, "Hey, I'm going to go to Disneyland today." Screw it.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
I mean,
true.
those two parts. I mean, yeah. I mean, the payday is always nice, obviously, but you know, I mean, success. You're not even the payday. Just it's completing it. But I guess there's three parts of it really. You think about it: the beginning stage, when everything comes together, and when it crosses the finish line, and everybody's happy.
Totally.
You hope.
Dude, in the world of deal making, you can't make everyone
Some
happy.
no, there's always somebody sitting there. Oh, I got screwed over.
Yeah, there's always someone out there to screw something up. Um, when uh, when we're having a conversation with someone and we're starting to engage in like, should we do a venture together? A
Mhm.
red flag for me is when someone goes, we're looking for someone. We don't want to invest any upfront fees or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Because
don't want
bye
to
bye.
invest in the yeah. I'm like, peace. No. Even if they're like, we'll consider it, but this is not how we do. I'm just like, I feel like with those kind of engagements, I find that I'm spending all my time afterwards, like consistently reminding them of the value instead of like looking at the actual goal. And I just don't find that as a good partnership. What red flags do you
If
see
you got to
when people?
sell yourself and you got to be on top of them to convince them,
Yeah.
then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's a huge red flag. If you're not gonna believe me and you're not gonna trust me, and I mean everybody doesn't, finance, nobody trusts anybody,
Yeah. Right.
which I get it, but usually you get over that if you talk to somebody but if the person is still questioning, and they, like you said, if they're coming back saying, hey, you know what, I don't want to put money in, I don't want, I'm like, you know what, maybe you should call someone else.
Totally. Yeah. Uh, I find when people pay, they pay attention. They value what they've invested in. And if they don't do that, that means they don't believe it,
You
right?
got it. You hit it right in the head.
And if they don't have any money for whatever reason, but they're an investment group or they're, a builder or whoever they are, if they don't have a little bit of scratch, if they don't have a little bit, then I have to question the business model a little bit.
Hmm.
When I don't have money, it's because I haven't done a good job in sales. I haven't done a
Right.
good job serving people. When other people don't have money, now life happens. I've been bankrupt. I've been on food stamp. I've, but it's because my business model was broken. I need to
Hmm.
fix that before I take on investor capital. I need
You
to figure
got
that
it.
out, right? Because that's risk mitigation, and that's when money shows up. Is when you've mitigated the risk and you've shown an actual plan,
Hmm.
right? It
Yeah.
sounds like you're really good at that. The looking at a
I don't
plan,
know.
or it might be really wrong. Um,
Well,
what's
I've been around. Put it that
yeah?
way. I've been around.
All right, ready for a game? Best deal ever, worst deal ever.
Uh, Best deal ever, worst deal. Well, the worst deal. Well, I mean, with me personally, or
Sure.
just me. I guess say the worst deal I did was I ended up. This is a few years ago. Prior to me selling,
Hmm.
I ended up working with the investment banker,
Hmm.
and we were gonna buy agencies together. Turned out that I'm not going to really say much, but didn't work out because the person was not said who he was,
Yeah.
and he went belly up.
Yep.
So that was another hurdle I got to get over. But
Hmm.
that was probably the worst deal.
Yeah.
The best deal, I got to say, I had a client that called me up. He said, "Oh, I need this, this, and that." He had a whole. I forgot. I was like I don't know. He had a lot of inventory, It was a big community.
Hmm.
He called me up and said, John, I got your name from so and so, and you know, he said, oh, all right. And I just went to him, put something together really fast. He signed everything, and it went through within 2 weeks. I was like, holy moly.
Nice. Good sized deal.
He had a deal went through. He didn't balk at anything. He just
Yeah.
like, I was just like, wow. And he was 100% legitimate, did everything exactly from start to finish. And
Amazing.
I got a nice big payday. And I was like, huh, that's the way it should work.
How do we do that again and again, right?
It was just that, we kind of meshed, and he just trusted, and it was a referral. And, so it just went very easy. And the group that I was working with, the guy I had a relationship with, and he I don't know if he was trying to make some kind of quota or something, but he pushed it through. Like it was like,
Nice.
boom.
So, John, do you mind if we have a little bit of fun here? Like, I mean, we've been
Sure.
having a lot of fun. That was like, hey, do you mind if I turn on the fun game?
John, you're boring. What are you doing?
So, I'm gonna type a word. Do you see your chat box? I'm just gonna send a message. Do you see the chat box?
Yeah. You
All
said
right.
hi.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna have a game. It's fun words to hear New Yorkers say.
Oh no.
All right, we'll just do a few of them. We'll start out with an easy one. I'm gonna type in a message, and as
No,
soon as
Josh, where are you originally from?
South Florida.
South Florida. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Florida boy. Listen, my daughter's 9. We've lived in 9 different homes. We've lived in South Florida. Well, I've lived in South Florida, Central Florida, Jacksonville, Dallas, New York, Orlando, and I'm an entrepreneur roller coaster baby. I've had an investor call me a dumpster fire at one point. That's a really great
That's
compliment.
not good. That's not a good thing. I wouldn't talk about that.
Hey, I don't mind sharing my past failures because, man,
Just don't talk to another investor that say, oh, but someone said I was in dumpster.
yeah. And if you're listening, like the goal with this is like I want to share as much as I can about my past successes and failures.
Mhm.
One, someone could look at this and go, "Wow, look how far you've come, Josh." Right? Like, hey, you've accepted it, you've owned it. But more importantly, like I told you about my impact show and some of the work that we do with some dudes, and my job is to be on the front line and just be. I call it like open kimono, cold wet day. Just stand and just say, as transparent as I can. This is who I am. And I've had more billionaires and investors and super cool people go, "Hey, thanks for sharing. Let's do a deal together." I'm like, "Did you just hear? Like, I suck at this?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it together. You've learned your lesson. That's a lesson I don't have to pay for now." That's what they've told
Right.
me, and I was like, "Ah." All right, so you ready? Here comes.
Sure.
I'm gonna do a few of them. Ready?
Righty.
Read this word.
Coffee.
Coffee. CAWFEE. All right, you ready?
Car.
Car. CAWR.
Car.
All right. Let me try this one.
Garage.
Oh, you got that one. You nailed that one. All right. Last.
I do not.
All right. Last one.
Off.
OWFF. Off.
Off.
Yeah.
Believe me, my wife, she's from Pennsylvania, and she says, John, I don't understand you. You're New York accent, and I'm like, oh, thanks, honey.
Thanks. Sweetheart.
I really don't think I have an accent, but I guess everybody says that.
Right.
And I'm in the Carolinas for 14 years.
Really?
I can't say one word, y'all, or whatever the hell.
Y'all.
I cannot say that.
It's y'all.
It does not flow.
It's hall with a Y. Y'all.
Yeah, I know, but I just refuse to say it.
I get it. I get it. That's how you
And
can.
believe me, when I first moved down here, people, not thinking against Southerners or anything, but they were saying "bless your heart," and I'm like, wait a second, you know what they're saying?
You're special.
Yeah, you're special, all right.
Bless your heart. Oh, you're so cute. Like I just want to pat your
Yeah,
head.
bless your heart. I'm like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Like up
Yeah.
north, they're like, yeah, okay, screw you, buddy.
Flip yourself. Listen, there's a guy that he was one of my mentors, Uncle Sal, and he straight from New York, like had, all sorts of fun adventures there. But the way he talked, right? He talked and he gave you, the real way. It is so cool, like hearing that out. So shout out to Uncle Sal. He's no longer with us, but love the
Oh,
guy. New Yorkers, you guys are one of a kind. John, for dudes and deal makers and people out there who want to do a deal and look at, maybe some financing options or some of the services, what's a good way for people to connect with you and do a deal with you?
I probably my email, which would be john@capitalpreferredpartners.com.
Cool. So that's probably another place where people could go to connect with you is capitalpreferredpartners.com. They could take a look
Yes.
at your services. So favorite kind of deals are what?
Mostly, I'm used to working with real estate deals.
Mhm.
So I mean anything, real estate related, from residential to commercial. Or the other thing which, you have the big whales or the green energy projects.
Yeah, those are fun. Those are
Yeah,
fun.
there's a lot of money in them.
Yeah.
But it does serve a purpose. Those are fun to structure, I gotta say.
Super
But it's a
cool.
lot of work. A
It's a lot
lot
of
of
work.
work.
What's a question I should have asked you in this interview that I screwed up and didn't ask you?
I think you asked me a lot of questions. I can't think of any.
Awesome. So one more question. If you can be in any movie, right? Past, present, or future. Like you get to be a star role. Like we go back in time and get you as you could get plugged into the movie and you're one of the star actors. What movie would you choose to be in?
I would, what's kind of funny? I always wanted to be in like a gangster movie.
Yeah,
I don't know
of
why.
course, because you're from New York.
I just, you know what? When I was younger, I used to be into bodybuilding, and I used to work out a lot. I'm in my 50s now. So, but I used to love working out, and I used to go away. And, back then, I'm going back in the 80s. You
Yeah.
used to walk around with like these tank tops, and I used to
This
be like all built out, like, oh, and I had dark hair, slick back. And every time I walked on, I says, "Are you part of the mob? Are you?"
So Sopranos or Godfather or Scarface or
Well,
something like that?
Scarface is a little crazy,
Untouchable?
but
Yeah. Wow.
but yeah, any of those movies like Goodfellas or
Goodfellas. Am I a clown? Do I amuse you?
I always laughed at the movie My Cousin Vinny. That was a funny movie.
So good. That chick was amazing, wasn't she?
Yeah, Marissa Tomei. Yeah,
Yeah. Utes. And then she like tore apart the engine and oh man,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
super cool. Awesome, man. Yeah. I love my wife and I will go on a kick and we'll watch all of the Godfathers or Untouchables. Like we'll just like we love that like the 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 history
Yeah.
behind that and how things were built and how things move. So super cool. So maybe next time we do a movie deal or something like that, we'll get
That'd
you
be
plugged
cool.
in, right? We'll do a movie together. Awesome, 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 awesome. So, John, thanks for being on the show. Fellow deal makers out in the audience, if you're working on a green construction project, or if you're working on some ground up construction or some real estate deals, and you want some conversations around that about structuring or about moving it to the finish line, reach out to our guests and say thanks for being on the show, and maybe do a deal with them. If you are working on a deal or want to talk about a deal here on the show, head on over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, maybe get you on the show next. Till then, talk to you all on the next episode.
Thank you.